Today I will show you some cool customs ideas for your minifigs, and at the end I will give you some tips on how to make a cool minifigure. So be sure to watch this video to the end. Well, with you as always, Papa Lego. Let's go! Recently, I already assembled a chariot with a dinosaur for my army of orcs. However, I wanted to find a velociraptor figurine to make a dinosaur rider. I chose Munts from Ninjaga Season 13 as the rider myself, using a two-tone stone-tipped spear for the weapon. However, just putting him on a velociraptor was too boring, so I took a 4-pin part with a rim around it, added some light rounded parts and different lengths of bone of the same color. I decided that bones from other animals would look the most harmonious. In this way, I managed to assemble an interesting saddle for my rider. Next, I took the troll banner from the old Lego Castle series, hung it on the standard and decorated it with a chain with several heads from different scarecrow minifigures. Well, so that the troll could control the dinosaur, I made reins from several chains, decorating with 2 horns from the Tauntaun figurine. Thus, you can assemble a fast dinosaur rider, the leader of an orc squad, a swamp sorcerer, or even a character from the famous game Heroes of Might and Magic. However, if we take a look at the classics of the entire fantasy world, we remember that in the Lord of the Rings films, orcs did not ride dinosaurs. As mounts, they used a kind of wolves, which in the film were called vargs. In Lego, they were produced only in 2013, and now it is almost impossible to find. But I talk about him for a reason. Of course, I decided to use for my custom. Considering that I want to use dinosaurs for my orcs, I thought long and hard about who to put on this mount. But as one of the subscribers told me, the orc will still look best on him. So I put together an orc scout using a Harry Potter centaur torso, Nexonite shoulder pads, a brown cloak, and of course a bow and arrows. However, so that the bow would not interfere with him while riding, I added to him the same 2-colored spear as the previous rider. However, among the Lord of the Rings sets there were other exclusive animals that fit perfectly into the fantasy world. One of these is a large eagle figurine that I have been hunting for many years. I decided not to change the concept and put one of my mages on it. However, I still decided to assemble a saddle to add comfort during long-haul flights. I used the part from the horse as a small trunk where the wizard can put his things or spellbook. To control the eagle, I added the reins, assembling them from 2 whip parts. Well, the sorcerer himself is made from a Gandalf minifigure, with hair from the old Luke and a cloak from the Mandalorian. But for the second sorcerer, I used details from another famous wizard, the headmaster of a better school of magic and wizardry, Dumbledore. As a base, the torso from the same old Luke looks great, and as a decoration, I picked up one of my new raincoats in pale blue. I have not found where a cloak of this color is found, so if you know, be sure to write about it in the comments. It would be interesting to read. I have decided to use flying animals as mounts for my wizards. One of these is the incredibly cool Hippogriff figurine from the Harry Potter series. I have already begun to assemble a high tower in my Academy of Magicians, where magicians from other kingdoms would fly. I will definitely show it to you in the next video with an overview of my entire fantasy city. Well, you can use the Hippogriff not only for magicians but also for knights or paladins, like one of the heroes of the Warcraft movie. For the paladins in my fantasy world, I decided to use gold details, and most recently, I was lucky to find a Loki minifigure from the Marvel series. I think that the helmet from this character would look great on the head of the leader of the Paladin Order. To him, I added a shield from the old series of minifigures based on Disney cartoons. From weapons, you can assemble a Morningstar from parts from Ninjaga sets or use a modified staff from the same Loki minifigure. Now the High Paladin looks like a real warrior of light and will be able to lead his order in the war against the undead or demons. And on another continent of my fantasy world of Caldaria, other heroes are fighting against the dark forces. This is Moon Elves. I have already shown several characters of this faction, but today one more warrior will join their ranks. When this torso fell into my hands, I immediately decided what kind of custom I would assemble from it. I replaced his arms with gray color, added legs from the knight minifigure. I took the shoulder pads from the Medieval Forge set, my new and already beloved blue cape, as well as the hair from the Lego Elwes series and the shield from the elf from the 17th series of minifigures. Very soon I will gather a whole army of such elves, but so far I have not decided whose allies this faction will be. Perhaps for new knights from the Imperial Harbor? Red and blue minifigures with the golden lion emblem are a huge bonus of the new big castle set. Better yet, in every castle has added a horse with a tabard. These parts are extremely rare and are currently only available in this set. According to the story, the Queen of the Lion Castle rides this horse. However, in my opinion, she is not well executed. So I took a king figure from an old LEGO Kingdom set, added a cape with blue lion print, and put him on a horse. However, why LEGO did not add a horse helmet to the kit remains unclear to me. But in the set there was another knight with the same faithful steed. I am very glad that LEGO is developing this faction, and we already have the opportunity to collect both ordinary warriors and mounted knights. And now, perfectly executed archers in black and blue went on sale. However, I did not really like the way this knight was assembled in the set. He has no armor, no cloak, and a completely black helmet looks very strange at all. That's why I added shoulder pads from the Medieval Forge set, a real knight's sword, a metal helmet and a black cloak from Batman. And instead of a bunch of feathers on the head, I decided to add a black bird from one of the Scarecrow minifigures. Now the knight looks more impressive and intimidating and looks more like an army commander. Well, since my Empire of Light is getting bigger and another port city is already appearing in it, then it would be time to make imperial residents as well. And if the settlers of my fantasy city look more like medieval peasants, then the imperial citizens look more aristocratic. For them, I decided to use long tunics and dresses in blue and light blue. And to add grandeur to them and show their prosperity, I added a detail of a fur collar. And to meet our warriors of light at the city gates, as well as to accompany in battles carrying a majestic banner over their heads, there will be an imperial standard bearer. Like all similar characters, this hero has a horn, the sound of which marks the onset or arrival of important guests in the city. In his other hand he holds his banner, assembled from the old flag of the 2005 set and a wooden standard. The banner should always be protected, but since our hero's hands are already full, I took a part of the scabbard from the Pirates of the Caribbean set and a Legionnaire's short sword. Well, the fact that this part is broken is even better, because this way you can hang a shield on it, with which the minifigure looks more realistic. In my fantasy city, I have already built a market square where you can meet both local merchants or artisans, as well as those who arrived from distant lands and kingdoms. One of these characters brought exquisite spices and magnificent gold items to our city. Instead of a cart, I used a camel figurine from the Prince of Persia sets. By adding a few baskets and bags of goods, I assembled the minifigure itself from parts from the same kits, accessorizing an Arabian hat and a sharp rounded saber. Well, if you decide to assemble something closer on the topic to the usual Middle Ages and do not want to add magicians to your city from LEGO, then you can assemble an ordinary priest. I have been looking for a Voldemort minifigure for a long time to make a similar character. Instead of a staff, he has a wooden cross on a long stick, and instead of a magic tome, a book with religious teachings and prayers. But such a hero can be added to the fantasy world by inventing your own religion and history of the creation of the world for your inhabitants. This monk will give speeches in the main square, as well as travel the world, telling his stories to different peoples. Well, ordinary residents, meanwhile, continue to go about their business. They forge new weapons and tools, graze cattle on green fields, and, of course, harvest ripe crops. And to make it easier for them, I assembled a scythe for the minifigure from just a few simple parts. They are quite common, and such a blade can be found in Ninjaga series sets. As the locals themselves, you can use torsos from minifigures of a scarecrow, a gold digger, the old Castle and Kingdom series, and even from Harry Potter sets. I even managed to make a local pickpocket who walks among the crowd of people on the main square, carefully cutting wallets from his belt and opening his pockets. But what is it? Looks like some necromancer has found an ancient spell to resurrect the dead. After poisoning the local townspeople, he first killed them and then raised real zombies to enslave the inhabitants and assemble his own immortal army. Taking heads from ghost warriors from the Lord of the Rings series, as well as a few parts from standard zombies, I managed to collect the most real medieval Walking Dead. Yes, you don't have to write that it is somewhat reminiscent of Warcraft, the resemblance can really be traced. But, just like in the famous game, we will need a squad of noble warriors to stop the spread of this unprecedented infection. Here I borrowed a torso from an elf archer from LEGO Minifigures Series 3, hair and a beard from a blacksmith from a cool LEGO Idias set, and also added a few weapon details and a round, brown shield. And even if he does not have a steel, horned helmet, he still somehow reminds me of a harsh wig, hardened in battles. But his little partner looks more like a fantasy world character. This is a battle-known mage. I never found what minifigure this Torsic was from, probably from the LEGO Chima series, and also, I don't know who had such a wonderful cape. But what I am sure of is that this wonderful fur hat was worn by the Winter Warrior from the 22 series of minifigures, and the black book is Tom Riddle's diary from the Dobby minifigure. Now, along with the rest of the heroes of today's video, he will be able to confront this unnatural threat and prevent the undead from enslaving the world of Caldaria. Well, you can see more customs in other videos on the channel, as well as in the Instagram profile. With you as always was Papa Lego, for all you cool minifigs, and I'm not saying goodbye.